Esoteric or Sufi interpretation attempts to unveil the inner meanings of the Quran. Sufism moves beyond the apparent zahir point of the verses and instead relates Quranic verses to the inner or esoteric batin and metaphysical dimensions of consciousness and existence. According to Sands, esoteric interpretations are more suggestive than declarative. They are illusions, isharat, rather than explanations, tafsir. They indicate possibilities as much as they demonstrate the insights of each writer. Sufi interpretation, according to Annabel Keeler, also exemplifies the use of the theme of love, as for instance can be seen in Qushayri's interpretation of the Quran. Quote, "When Moses came at the appointed time and his Lord spoke to him, he asked, 'My Lord, reveal yourself to me so I may see you.' Allah answered, 'You cannot see me. But look at the mountain. If it remains firm in its place, only then will you see me.' When his Lord appeared to the mountain, he leveled it to dust and Moses collapsed unconscious. When he recovered, he cried, 'Glory be to you. I turn to you in repentance and I am the first of the believers.'" Quote, Moses. In 7-143. Comes the way of those who are in love. He asks for a vision but his desire is denied. He is made to suffer by being commanded to look at other than the beloved while the mountain is able to see God. The mountain crumbles and Moses faints at the sight of God's manifestation upon the mountain. In Qushayri's words, Moses came like thousands of men who traveled great distances. And there was nothing left to Moses of Moses. In that state of annihilation from himself, Moses was granted the unveiling of the realities. From the Sufi point of view, God is the always the beloved and the wayfarer's longing and suffering lead to realization of the truths. Muhammad Hussein Tabatabai says that according to the popular explanation among the later exegetes, Ta'wil indicates the particular meaning a verse is directed towards. The meaning of revelation, tanzil, as opposed to ta'wil, is clear in its accordance to the obvious meaning of the words as they were revealed. But this explanation has become so widespread that, at present, it has become the primary meaning of ta'wil, which originally meant to return or the returning place. In Tabatabai's view, what has been rightly called ta'wil, or hermeneutic interpretation of the Quran, is not concerned simply with the denotation of words. Rather, it is concerned with certain truths and realities that transcend the comprehension of the common run of men. Yet it is from these truths and realities that the principles of doctrine and the practical injunctions of the Quran issue forth. Interpretation is not the meaning of the verse. Rather it transpires through that meaning. In a special sort of transpiration, there is a spiritual reality, which is the main objective of ordaining a law, or the basic aim in describing a divine attribute. And then there is an actual significance that a Quranic story refers to. Quote, according to Shia beliefs, those who are firmly rooted in knowledge like Muhammad and the Imams know the secrets of the Quran. According to Tabatabai, the statement "none knows its interpretation except God" remains valid, without any opposing or qualifying clause. Therefore, so far as this verse is concerned, the knowledge of the Quran's interpretation is reserved for God. But Tabatabai uses other verses and concludes that those who are purified by God know the interpretation of the Quran to a certain extent. According to Tabatabai, there are acceptable and unacceptable esoteric interpretations. Acceptable ta'wil refers to the meaning of a verse beyond its literal meaning. Rather the implicit meaning, which ultimately is known only to God and can be comprehended directly through human thought alone. The verses in question here refer to the human qualities of coming, going, sitting, satisfaction, anger and sorrow, which are apparently attributed to God. Unacceptable will is where one transfers the apparent meaning of a verse to a different meaning by means of a proof. This method is not without obvious inconsistencies. Although this unacceptable will has gained considerable acceptance, it is incorrect and cannot be applied to the Quranic verses. The correct interpretation is that reality a verse refers to. It is found in all verses, the decisive and the ambiguous alike. It is not a sort of a meaning of the word. It is a fact that is too sublime for words. God has dressed them with words to bring them a bit nearer to our minds. In this respect they are like proverbs that are used to create a picture in the mind, and thus help the hearer to clearly grasp the intended idea.